Man, guess who's back? I said, guess who's back? What's going on, guys? This is a quick reaction to the Teofimo fight that just finished just a little while ago, a few hours ago, with Sandor Martin. It was a good fight, a chess match. Some interesting things I'm gonna say, some controversial things. I've got a feeling that my point of view on this is in the minority. But let me know what you think as usual. I watched the fight. I've basically watched the whole fight once, and I've watched the highlights once. I haven't watched the whole fight twice, which is quite important because a few people have already told me to watch the fight again. But my initial view on viewing it the first time was that I feel like Teofimo won this fight and the decision was correct. Now, a lot of people seem to disagree with that, people that I've spoken to initially. And my reasoning for this was, I feel like prior to this fight, Sandor Martin was advised by his trainers, Teofimo is an attacking fighter. In all of these fights, he comes forward, he attacks his opponents. Therefore, the game plan was to fight off the back foot and counter Teo as he's coming in with a check hook. Yeah, just because they know he's an aggressive fighter, this is what their plan was. If you look at all of Teofimo's fights, he comes forward and this is how he's normally been caught. He was caught like this by Kambosos, he was caught a few times by Lomachenko and a few different fighters. Even when he moved up from 135 to 140 in his last fight, he was caught often when he was too aggressive and came forward. So this was an obvious plan that they had prior to this fight. You can see that this is what they planned. From the opening bell, Martin was on the back foot trying to catch him with his check hook, and he was successful. Definitely was successful. From the first round to maybe the fourth round, when Teo started to make adjustments. So Martin caught Teo, I'm not sure which round it was, where he dropped him. It was a flash knockdown. Teo was kind of coming in as usual, head down, a little bit off balance, and Martin caught him. It was just a flash knockdown. He wasn't hurt or anything like that, but it was a flash knockdown. Basically, it was kind of a bit of a, you could say it was a push, but it did kind of look like it grazed him. It did look like a legit knockdown, but nothing serious. But it was enough to look as if Teo was kind of in trouble from the second round, which is when it happened. But he wasn't really in trouble, but he was down from the second round because of that. After that knockdown, Teo kind of increased the pressure, and as he increased the pressure, he got caught again in the third round, fourth round. I think from the fourth round, I want to say fourth round onwards, Teo made a very subtle adjustment. He became much more careful when he was trying to get into range, because he realized that this is what Martin was trying to do, to catch him coming in. He realized that Martin had quick feet. He realized that he's got a lot of energy and a really good movement, and he was very fast with that counter. And Teo didn't want to get caught with that counter again. Hence the reason why when Teo would get into range, he would only throw mostly single shots. Every now and then he'd throw a combination, but it was mostly single shots. And this is what a lot of people have said so far, that, you know, his corner, his dad, was saying, you know, throw combinations and stuff like that. And a lot of people said we didn't see the combinations we would normally see from Teo. I don't think there's anything unusual about the fact that he did not throw combinations. It seems obvious to me why he couldn't throw combinations, and I think Teo made the right adjustments. I don't think he did any, you know, he did a few things wrong, which I'll go on to, but I don't think it was as bad as people are saying. I've heard people online saying it was a robbery, that Martin clearly won. I've heard people say that, you know, Teo got found out. I didn't see any of these things. If you think about it, Teo's come up from 135 pounds to 140 pounds, right? To fight a champion. So you're coming up in weight and you're fighting a champion who fights extremely defensive and is on the back foot. And he's got really good feet and really good movement. There's no way that Teo could be aggressive and throw combinations, which he found out. By the second round, he had been dropped, and Martin was going for the same check hook each and every time. So as soon as Teo found out that that was the game plan, he was much more careful from the third, fourth round onwards on his entry. And it worked. He got in and he landed a lot of punches on Martin. So, you know, I think that Teo landed more punches than Martin, and I feel like Martin was just on the back foot running, just looking for that check hook, trying to counter Teo as he was coming in all night. He was successful some of the times, but it definitely wasn't enough to give him the decision, and that seems to be a point of view which is not shared by many. I don't know, maybe I've got to watch the fight again. I will watch the fight one more time because so many people have told me I'm wrong, but that's what I saw. That's what I saw in this fight. I don't feel like Teo was exposed at all. Martin is a really good fighter, as we've seen before. He's got some really good wins, a champion. You're not going to look good against a fighter who is so defensive. You know, like I said, it was Martin's plan to catch him with that all night long. But the problem is, he was very successful in catching him when on the back foot, trying to counter, but he had no front foot game at all. He wasn't offensive even once throughout this whole fight. I think it was a 10-round fight. He wasn't offensive at all. Teo was offensive from the beginning to the end of this fight. He was the aggressor throughout the fight. He landed more punches, and from the third round, he made an adjustment and started landing shots to the body. And when he would get inside, he landed numerous shots on Martin, which were unanswered. Martin only looked good when he landed clean counter punches as Teo was coming in, and that was few and far between. So if you look at the fight in general, Teo landed the harder shots. The more often he landed more shots and the harder shots. I think Martin probably landed the cleaner shots. And you know, if you score the fight like the way it's supposed to be scored, not, you know, oh, Teo got knocked down twice. I mean, that looks good, but if you actually look at the fight, the whole fight, all the way through the 10 rounds, you'll clearly see that Teo landed more punches to the body and to the head. He was the aggressor, and he should have rightfully won the fight. Martin did look good on the back foot, but it wasn't enough to win the decision. He got caught, as you can see. You know, he had a bloody nose. He had, if you just look at his face, you can see that he got caught more than Teo did. And like Teo said at the end of the fight, it was difficult to fight him because he was running. Now, most people, I hate that comment when people talk about, you know, certain people are running, like Floyd Mayweather and Devin Haney. You know, they're runners. There's a big difference between the way Martin fought and the way Devin Haney fights and the way Floyd Mayweather fought in the past. You know, the difference is Floyd Mayweather, for example, when Floyd Mayweather was on the back foot and was being defensive, when he would punch, his punches were clean. He landed the cleanest shots on his opponents. He often took center ring, even though he was being defensive and moving around. He countered perfectly. You could clearly see that he countered his fighters. And even when he was fighting someone really aggressive like Madonna and a few people who Floyd Mayweather fought, Manny Pacquiao, a lot of the punches that these opponents would throw, you can clearly see that he blocked these punches, or they were non-scoring shots, because Mayweather's defense was so tight. The shoulder roll, controlling distance, making people fall short. I mean, Floyd Mayweather, unlike Martin, at the end of the fight, when you look at the stats, at the end of a Mayweather fight, when you look at the stats, Mayweather has always outlanded his opponents, which means that he was throwing punches back and landing more punches as well as being defensive and deflecting punches and moving out the way and only getting hit with non-scoring punches, which is an important part of Mayweather's defense. When he did slip up and somebody got on the inside, Mayweather normally smothers somebody's work so that they can't get off more than 2 punches at the most on the inside. You see Mayweather smother people quite a lot. This is also called holding. You see Mayweather do that sometimes. But Mayweather always looked like the clear winner. This is very different. And Devin Haney, the same. Devin Haney, although he's not as refined as Mayweather yet, Devin Haney's fighting sometimes looks a little bit more like holding. But the same thing, just as efficient. Devin Haney is just as efficient as Mayweather when he smothers people. He smothers your work and doesn't really let you fight. It doesn't really allow you to throw more than 2 punches on the inside. He holds momentarily and until he can regain distance, and then you're on the edge of the jab and you just can't catch up with him, and his footwork is too good. And that's what you normally, and that's a fighter being defensive and outclassing another fighter. This is not what Martin did. Martin fought well, but his offense game was non-existent. You know, if he was throwing some punches, if he was sometimes taking center ring, if he was sometimes landing punches going forward, as well as his defensive back foot game, I would have given it to Martin, but it just wasn't enough from Martin. And I felt like a split decision for Teofimo was absolutely the correct decision. I think it was close, so I do think it was a split decision. You know, so yeah, I'm on the other side of the fence here. I think it was a good performance from Teofimo. I don't think he could have done more. As people say, oh, it wasn't that good, you know, he could have done more. You know, you're not in the ring, we're not in the ring with him, you know. Even his own trainer said he should have thrown combinations and stuff, but I think Teofimo got this perfectly right. He saw how sharp Martin was on the back foot, and he knew that he could not throw more than 1 punch at a time. I think he did that a little bit later in the fight, maybe the 8th round, 9th round, 10th round. He started really pushing the action even more, and Martin was still looking for that counter. He didn't really do anything else. So, you know, he like I said, Martin did land some good clean shots. I think he landed the cleaner shots, which is probably the reason why people think he won. But for me, just didn't do enough. Didn't do enough in this fight. Teofimo looks good. Not his best performance. I would say he looked a little bit better than average, but I think that there's nothing wrong with looking a little bit better than average as you move up to fight a champion at a new weight. So yeah, still a fan of Teofimo. Good fight. I'm on to the next one. Let me know what you think. I'm sure I'm going to get a whole load of people who disagree, but that's how I saw the fight. I will watch the fight again, and if I change my mind, I will apologise and let you know my new thoughts on it. But as far as I can see, this was a clear win for Teofimo. Man, guess who's back? I said, guess who's back? If you enjoyed my views, my seemingly controversial views on this video, let me know in the comments. Please like, share and subscribe to the channel. I'm really interested to hear how other people thought that this fight played out.